Danny sat on his couch, remote in hand, lazily flipping through channels. His new apartment was still mostly empty, boxes stacked in corners, the scent of fresh paint lingering in the air. The only thing that felt familiar was his old TV, an ancient thing with thick glass and bulky dials. The channels were as dull as ever. Late-night infomercials, reruns of sitcoms, the occasional static-filled channel that no longer worked. Click Channel 75. A weather report, click Channel 76. A cooking show, click Channel 77. Static. Danny frowned. He didn't remember seeing Channel 77 before. The white noise buzzed softly through the room, flickering and shifting. At first, it seemed empty, just meaningless static, but then a shape. A man standing in the static. Danny's breath caught in his throat. The figure was tall, barely distinguishable, but he was there. He blinked, and just like that, it was gone. The remote slipped from his fingers. His heart thumped in his ears. Then, without warning, the TV turned off by itself. Danny stared at the blank screen, his reflection staring back at him in the dark. Something felt wrong. Danny told himself he was imagining things, a glitch, a transmission error. But the next night, Channel 77 was still there. He hesitated, his thumb hovering over the remote. Maybe he shouldn't look. Maybe... The screen flickered. A face pressed against the static. Danny jumped back. His pulse pounded in his ears. The figure moved. Not much. Just a step forward. Then Danny's remote stopped working. No response. The buttons were dead. His breathing quickened. He pressed every button, desperate to change the channel. The screen flashed again. It wasn't static anymore. It was his apartment. Danny's stomach twisted. The image was grainy, black and white, but unmistakable. His couch, his coffee table, his TV, a recording, and then a whisper crackled through the speakers. "Don't look away." Danny barely slept. His thoughts looped endlessly. The static, the recording, the man. By morning, the TV seemed normal again. No sign of Channel 77, no static. He almost convinced himself he'd imagined it. Until 2:47 a.m. Danny's eyes snapped open. A soft buzzing filled the room. His TV was on. The screen glowed, casting long shadows against the walls. The static was gone. Now it showed something new. A grainy, black and white view of his apartment door. Danny swallowed hard. He could see the hallway, the doormat, the faint flicker of the light outside his door. And then, a figure stepped into frame. No face, no features, just standing there. Danny's breath hitched. The figure tilted its head. The screen cut to black. Then the whisper returned. "You're watching me. Now I'm watching you." Danny didn't turn the TV on the next day. He didn't even touch the remote. But it didn't matter. That night, as he passed by the screen, he noticed something. His reflection. It lingered half a second too long. Danny froze. His heart pounded. He lifted his hand. His reflection followed, but with a delay. Then, as he took a slow step back, his reflection smiled. Danny hadn't smiled. He stumbled back, eyes locked on the screen. His own face grinned back at him, wide and unnatural. Then his phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown number. "You're part of the show now." The TV clicked back on by itself. This time it was showing his bedroom. Danny barely breathed. The TV screen showed his room, his bed, his nightstand, even the pile of laundry on the chair. A live feed. But Danny was right here. He wasn't in bed. Then the screen flickered. The man in the static was in the doorway. Danny's body locked up. His phone vibrated in his hand. Another text. "Unknown number. Let me in." The static shuddered. The man stepped forward. Outside his door, something knocked. Danny didn't move. Another knock. Then his phone buzzed, a video attachment. His shaking hands tapped the screen. The video played. It was him, sleeping and standing over his bed. The man in the static. Danny unplugged the TV. The screen stayed on. The static grew louder. A countdown appeared on the screen. 5 o'clock, 4:59, 4:58. He tried smashing the remote. Nothing worked. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. The final episode is near. The lights flickered violently. The static poured out of the screen, spreading like ink, stretching across the walls. A voice whispered from inside the TV. Almost time. Danny turned to run, but the static was everywhere. Then, knocking. The screen bulged outward. Something was pushing through. Danny tried to move, but the static pinned him in place. The whisper grew louder. Don't look away. Then, a hand reached through the screen and pulled him in. Danny was gone. Days passed. The apartment remained empty. A new tenant moved in. One night, they flipped through the channels. Click, channel 75. Click, channel 76. Click, channel 77. The static crackled. A man stood inside it. A whisper filled the room. Don't look away.